Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time, you're welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. In today's video, we are going outside of the United States for the most part. I'm continuing my series where I research the most expensive places and the most affordable places to live in the United States. So far, I think we've covered the most expensive cities in the country. We've also covered the most expensive states and the most affordable cities and states, I think. So you can go check them out. They were really fun videos, but today we are going worldwide. We are looking at the most expensive cities to live in the world. And this is mostly because the United States is already very expensive, but there are also some really expensive places all over the world. Especially after the pandemic, the cost of living has gone up about 8.1% worldwide. So everybody is facing higher inflation. A lot of people have experienced the cost of food, shelter, and even basic necessities rise. So let's go ahead and learn about the most expensive cities in the world. Let me know your guesses down in the comments section. Remember to like this video, but let me know what cities do you think is going to be on this list, and let's get right into them. So first, we should maybe know how this list was compiled, and this was an article that came at the end of last year. So it's basically just a look into the future, because a lot of those growing trends are going to continue. So even though some cities may become slightly more, I don't even want to say the word is affordable, but maybe some things may go down, overall this list is pretty consistent. A lot of times costs are dictated by a lot of things, including of course inflation, but also the structural infrastructure of the city. Like for example, LA, like it's almost built to be expensive, right? And also it's a place that is a lot of time has a lot of population. There are also factors of not just people, but also lack of housing that just makes housing go up. But in this list, we are going to look at these places. The list was compiled with over 200 products. So they're looking at different aspects. They want to make sure that they're getting it as correct as possible, as precise as possible. And about 172 cities were examined for this list of top 10. So starting at 172, they took it all the way down to the top 10. So if your city made this, wow, you are basically living in a place that is more expensive than the rest of the world. Unfortunately, this list did not break down specific things, like looking into specific how much rent is costing. I would have really loved to have known the index system, because if you remember in the previous videos, we used an index system to compare it to the rest of the world. But those data are very hard to find sometimes. So instead, we're just going to look at different articles and different data sources and see if the list is consistent. But let's get straight into this one, which the source is CNN. I will make sure to link all my sources below, but let's get into number 10. Number 10 is Copenhagen, Denmark. I hope I'm saying these words correctly, because this is from different countries as well. I have a little grace, but I've never heard of Denmark being expensive, so this is the first time for me. But number 9 is no surprise, which is Paris, France. So Paris is no surprise to hear this on the list. I don't know, maybe I thought it would be higher, but it's a very huge tourist destination, and I'm guessing for natives living there, it's probably very high cost to live there, because they're sharing their city with a lot of tourists, and there are a lot of opportunities there. It's capital of France, so I'm sure a lot of people move there in order to make their dreams come true. It's basically like the New York of France, right? But also it has the Eiffel Tower, big tourist destination and a big tourist attraction. Number 8 is San Francisco, California. We already know that this made our list for the top 10 most expensive cities in the country, the United States. California also made the top 10 for most expensive states in the United States. So I really expected it to be there. I don't know if it was more for San Francisco or LA, but I expected to see some places in California. And this tells us something, that not only is California very high cost living area in the United States, but also globally recognized as one. Number 7 is Geneva, Switzerland. Again, I didn't know Switzerland was that expensive, but I guess it's to be expected. But Geneva is pretty popular. I think it's a big tourist destination as well. And so it makes a lot of sense why a lot of these places would be on there, because they're big tourist destinations. It makes it more expensive for the natives. And number 6, Switzerland makes another appearance in this, but oh my god, hopefully I pronounced this correctly. It is Zurich, Switzerland. Feel free to correct me. But another appearance from Switzerland. I did not expect this. I've never heard of Zurich before, but let me know what goes on there. Okay, it's nice to know. And number 4 is a tie. So this is basically number 4 and number 5. So it's a tie. Again, they didn't break up in the index, but I think it has a similar cost of living in both, and that is Hong Kong and California making another appearance with Los Angeles. I did expect Los Angeles to be on this list, and it is because it's very expensive. So they are both tied for the number 4 spots. So there's no number 5 really, but you know, it's 4 and 5. So yes, we can see that is very expensive. I've also heard of Hong Kong. I watched several documentaries about the cost of living crisis over there, so I did know that it could possibly be on this list, which is affirmed. But also Los Angeles, we all know the homeless population, the extreme cost of living. It's really nothing new. And number 3 is Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm so proud I know how to pronounce it. I think I'm pronouncing it the right way because I watch NCIS and Ziva David. I don't know if you know. Let me know if you in the comment section if you know. I watched like 10 seasons so far, so they always mention Tel Aviv, and I'm like, okay. I never knew it would come this far, but here I am saying it. But yes, I didn't know. I did not know that it would be that expensive. I've never heard of Israel even being an expensive place to live, much less Tel Aviv making the top 10. And number 3, that has to be very expensive to live there. I would definitely do some more research because I'm really curious. What is the living situation like? But let's move on to number 1 because it's another tie. So there's no number 2. This is for number 1 and number 2. Can you guess which one it is? So number 1 tie is New York City and Singapore. And this is not a surprise, but again, it puts into perspective how that when people think New York is expensive, it's not just because we think it's expensive, it's because it really is on a global stage. Not only was it the most expensive city in the United States, but it was also the most expensive city in the world. That should really be saying something. And Singapore, I've also heard about it and how expensive it can be. So I can only imagine it being like another New York. But this is putting a lot into perspective for me and seeing how much on a global scale the cost of living is very high. Now, to make it more fun, because I think we don't get a lot more detail in this article, but let's move on to another article by the same CNN, which is basically telling us the 10 most expensive cities from earlier last year. So we're looking at it to compare. Has it changed? Are there some cities that are just on there like around the same spot, and then we'll basically just compare to see what it's like. So let's start at number 10. Making its first appearance on this list is Seoul, South Korea. So basically, we didn't see this on this other list, but on this list, it's said to be the 10th most expensive city in the world. And I can only imagine, I know South Korea can be expensive, so this is not too much of a surprise. I guess it making top 10 here is well placed. And number 9 is China with their city Guangzhou. I feel like I'm butchering the names of these cities, but we see China making a first appearance. China was not on the other list, which I was quite surprised because I've heard of the cost of living crisis and especially in the cities in China. So this is no surprise to me. Number 8 is Shanghai, which we've all heard, I think, a lot about the cost of living as well. It did not make the other list, I don't remember, but it did make this list. So let's move on to the next one, which is what we did see on the other list because it is Zurich, which I think was Switzerland, and I didn't know how to pronounce the name then, and I'll try to pronounce it better next time. I'm really trying on these names, you all. Number 6 is Tel Aviv, which is making its appearance here. Last time it was number 3, but on this list, which was earlier in 2022, it was number 6. What happened? Number 5 is Tokyo, another city that I expected to be on the other list. So Tokyo, as we all know, is very expensive. It's in Japan, the capital city of Japan, and we've heard a lot about the cost of living in Japan is quite high. A lot of people, they do have a good pension program though, I heard, or retirement program. So maybe that really helps the elderly, but they also have a nice community to help take care of their elderly. So I think that really helps. But I'm surprised Tokyo was not on the other list, but here it is on this list at number 5. Number 4 is London, which I was surprised was not on the other list because I've heard of the rent prices especially being ridiculously high in the city. Like, it's ridiculous. People are complaining about it. They're talking about how bad it is, and it's almost like New York's type level. At least that's what they're comparing it to. But yes, I'm surprised it wasn't on the other list, but it's here. It's here in the flesh at number 4. Number 3 made an appearance on our other list, which is Geneva, Switzerland. So I think I've said all I had to say about Switzerland, but it made its appearance and it's much higher. I think last time it was like number 6 or number 7. Now we have number 2 because number 1, number 2 are not tied. Number 2 is said to be New York City. So New York City is said to be number 2 most expensive city in the world. Number 1, well, is Hong Kong, like it was on the other list. So Hong Kong took the list. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing to be number 1 on this list. I know a lot of the natives and residents of those areas would wish that they were not on this list at all, but this is the reality. The cost of living, as I said, has gone up over 8% in just the last year, and since the pandemic it's gone really high and everything is costing more. Everything is taking more money to do the simplest things. As we all know, cost of these cities, which were already expensive pre-pandemic, has now risen even more. But thank you for coming on this journey with me. I'm still learning all these things and learning how to pronounce names. Were you surprised to see anything on this list? Were you surprised not to see anything on this list? I was surprised Tokyo and London was not on the first list, or anything Japan or China in the first list. And remember to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Come over and see what we're talking about because it's gonna be good. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.